We are back for another session of Mesilas Yesharim Explained. We're in Perek Alef, this epic, truly epic Perek. Kishistakel od bedavar tireh. When you look deeper into it, you'll see. Now, I heard a tremendous diak, a tremendous inference from Rav Noach Weinberg, the famed Rosh Yeshivah of Shapell, where I was offered to be a Rebbe and a Hanhala member for many years, and have a warm shaykhus with that great man. And if we're talking about epic, he was epic. So and it was one of, I think, what he considered one of his greatest Torahs was, I'm not going to go through his whole mahalach, but that he saw that Kishistakel B'davar Tireh means that until now I've been describing the way things work on one level, now I'm going to a deeper level, and a different level, and I'm going to speak more about that diak on the next level where he says Vim Tamik Od Binyan Tireh, because there we're going to see the contrast more sharply between what he's been saying and how he's been looking at things till now, and how when Kishistakel Od B'davar, it's another level. And that's a wonderful thing about Divrei Chazal in general, and Divrei HaAchronim and Gedolei Rishon, Gedolei Achronim, how there's so many levels that something can be understood. I always personally feel that it's a raya to Torah min Hashamayim. It's a proof for the godliness of Torah that there's so many layers to something, that the same Chazal can be looked at this way, and you turn it around like a diamond, and you see another aspect to it. You turn it around like a diamond, you ask another diak, another letter, and it has another level of meaning, and they all fit and they all make sense. It's something absolutely mind-boggling. Okay, so we'll see that. Again, I'm not going to go so into it now, but he's definitely relating to another level of reality it hasn't related to, and we're going to see it even more in Vim Tamik O Binyan. But so let's see. Kishtakel O B'davar Tireh, ki shleimus hamiti, true shleimus, true completion. Prince says he wants to be an Adam Shalim. What does it mean to be an Adam Shalim? I won't get angry, I'll spend my time well, I'll be successful, have a good marriage. What's true shleimus? Hu rak hadvekus bo yisbarach. It's connection, it's cleaving to Hashem. Hu ma shedavid HaMelech omer. Mani kirvas elikim li tov. To me, kirvas elikim close to Hashem li tov. Mani kirvas elikim li tov. Someone must have made a song of that already. Va'omer. Acha shalti meis Hashem. Osa vakesh. One desire, one thing I ask. Osa vakesh. It's a shelah b'kasha. Nafshi b'shelasi v'ami b'kashasi. It's a shelah, which is something relates to me, and a b'kasha, it's good for the whole Jewish people, good for the whole world. That's the difference between shelah and bakasha. Shelah, nafshi, b'shelasi, v'ami, b'kasha. That's the difference between shelah and bakasha, as the Gro points out, I believe, in Megillah. So what was David HaMelech asking that was good for him and good for all of us? The famous song that we sing, especially during Elul and the days of Tishrei, because that's Kapitel Chav Zayin. That's what David wanted, a singularity, a focus. Now, it's always said about David, he was doing many, many things. David was a melech, and he was a posek, and he was a warrior, and he had many wives, but in all of them, it was Achashalti Mesilas Hashem also vakesh. And that's what we see here also, that the Mesilas Yesharim isn't suggesting to just retract, I guess, from life, and pull away into a monastic existence. That's not Judaism. But it's that I keep in mind that whatever I'm doing, I'm getting back to that dveikus bo yisbarach. I'm back to that connection, back to the kirvas avoyer, back to my focus. It's told about a certain Gaon, I forgot who, that as he was meeting with people, he would kind of like lazily move his hands. And of course he was focused on people, hearing their tzaras, hearing their difficulties, giving eitzah, etc., all the things that great Rabbanim do. And someone noticed at a certain point he was writing out Shem Hashem to himself, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. He was always the Davik. And Rav Holba, I heard say a few times, it's written also, said about his Rebbe, Rabbi Yerucham Lubavitz, that Rabbi Yerucham could speak to anybody. And Rabbi Yerucham, the famed Mashgiach of the Rosh Yeshivah, who passed away in 1936, Gdolei Olam Mamish, the great light, Rav Holba calls him the Or HaGadol. So Yerucham could speak to anybody, and he would speak to anybody, and he was a friendly person, and he knew people. So the Mir was away at a certain point in time, that something I forbid to World War I, and I think maybe I'm getting the details a little mixed up, but the point is the same. After 3 days, the yeshiva got back together, and it was 300, 400 bachrim in yeshiva, and Rabbi Yerucham knew all the bachrim after three or 4 days. He had an unbelievable sense of people, and he was also a friendly person in a certain way. At least he was also a very scary person, but he was a friendly person, a certain person. The Yidden, the Jews, when they would take trains, that was the mode of longer travel back then, of course, carriages and trains. So the Yidden would, of course, get into their compartment together. And Rabbi Yerucham was on a train, and Rav Olba said by the end of the train ride, Rabbi Yerucham was friends with everybody. He was friends with every single person on the train. He knew what this one needed, knew what that one needed, in the caring way. But Rav Olba said we always knew that he was connected upstairs. He was with us, but he was with him. That's Dveikus. On a very high level, of course. This is the only goodness. Everything else, what's dressing up is good, what's counterfeiting is good, is not really good. Goodness is closeness to the Borei Olam. Mesilas Yesharim says it for us, black and white, in a very clear form, in a form that we can relate to. That's it. That's what we have to be looking for our whole life. Lidavik. Tov. What's the idea of Tov here? Goodness. Okay, so we can translate it in a simple way, and that's okay. But I want to share a deeper understanding of what Tov is. This I believe I heard from Rabbi Gershefeld. I'm not sure what his source was, but Rabbi Gershefeld Shlita pointed out the idea of Tov coming from the idea of Hatavas Aneris, the avod in the Beis Hamikdash, the work in the Beis Hamikdash to clean out the Neros, right? The Neros burned, and they burned out. The Ner Maravi kept going, etc. Went longer. I forgot when they put that one out. There were miraculous things going on, but not all the Neros were miraculous. I think only the Ner Maravi was miraculous, if I remember correctly. But at a certain point, the Neros, just like our Hanukkah Neros, just like the Shabbos Neros, especially those who light with oil, go down. They have to clean it out and redo the ner. That's called hatavas aneris. That process is called hatavat anerot, hatavas aneris. So from there we see the idea of tov as connection. Things that are connected are good. Think about it, right? Things that we see a continuum with it, right? Consistency with it. That's tov. That's what the real tov. That's just goodness, but that's the idea on a deeper level what tov is. And ra is where we see disconnection, and where we don't see connection. The pasuk says in Tehillim, I think the first Perek and the second Perek, to ro'aim, break them, shevet barzel. To ro'aim means to break them apart, split them apart, turn them into fragments. Not to l'reach hakamocha. My re'ah is something separate from me. So ra means separate. Tov is connection. Things are connected. Ra is when things aren't connection. I think that definition fits very nicely here. This is only tov. The only thing that connects through the whole life, the only thing that I can see through the whole life, is tov v'sobor, is connecting to Hashem. We're doing many, many things. As I said, and I'll emphasize again, the Mesilas Yesharim is certainly not advising just to sit back and get into your lotus position and feel tov Hashem and don't work, don't be involved with your family. No, of course, work, be involved with your family, eat, etc. But keep connecting to the Yerushalaim and all those things. That's the tov. That's the connection. Kizer rakatov. You can learn it in a simple way. Of course, also just it means goodness. Zer rakatov. B'chol zulasu. Everything else. Shachshivu b'nei adam. Lo eno l'shav hevel l'shav. It's a counterfeit. It's a trick. It's not real. It looks real. Many things dress up as super important. I, as I said many times, have a natural affinity to sports. So Hashem made me a good athlete. Not sure why. I don't use it so much today. I try to exercise. You don't have to be a good exercise. You don't have to be a good athlete to exercise. But okay. And I like sports, as you'd say. I really do. And people, when they get into sports, it's like so important to them. It means so much. In this game, everything's on the line. He's on the warning track. There is no return. Sudden death. These are all the terms we use. Gone, crying. But then you think, like, what's the difference? Like, what's the real difference if this team wins or that team wins? And it's always good for sports fans to imagine that about a sport that they don't like, about something they don't like. Because when a movie, entertainment. Can you imagine if like the entertainer came out at a little wrong time, suddenly in the middle of the movie screen there would be just like a gorilla, like they joke, the gorilla just comes by. You don't do that in a major movie. Why not? What's the difference, right? You don't. I wouldn't if I was a producer either, but what's the difference? What's the difference? But let's go back to the sports marshal, right? As the World Cup, which is the grand finale, grand soccer, or Americans say, or football, the rest of the world says, competition. So you say, well, people get happy, but so let the biggest country always should win. You should let China always win, because if China wins, then, I don't know, 4 billion people will be happy. If Liechtenstein wins, like 2 million people will be happy. So it's 4 billion against 2 million. So I just, that's, but you get the point. But people place such value in things, and they get so, believe me, as someone who was a big sports fan, I remember getting very, 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 very happy and very, 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 very upset when my teams would win or the other. But when I look back at it, like, that's what you're getting upset about? It's it doesn't make any real difference. But in the moment, it's so important. But in the overall perspective, they said to the Samarov one time, I don't know if it's true, but they said they took the Samarov to a tennis match. And the Samarov said afterwards, it's hard to believe that he went, but this is the story. Verstehe nicht, I don't get it. The mensch, he runs after the ball, and then he gets next to it, and he hits it away. And then the other mensch runs after it, he gets next to it, and he hits it away. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, this I think is more a chance of being true. Reb Chaim Kanievsky was asked one time whether you could play soccer on Shabbos. They had described to him what it is. You have a ball, you put it into a net. So he said, I don't understand. Why don't you just put it in before Shabbos? So the point is that these clean minds didn't understand this thing, right? Now that doesn't mean, of course, we're not talking about exercise and a little, healthy team, etc. But the taram, embarrassing people, right? I'm not proud of it, but when I was playing basketball, I would come down on my teammates sometimes. I'm very, very feel bad about it. I have to find the people, be mochel them out there. We should all be mochel each other, right? Everybody ever played sports, but that's what you made someone feel bad about because they didn't shoot as well as you, or it's embarrassing today. Over that, I made another yid feel bad, another human being I've made feel bad. I want to crush him. I don't want to talk about it. Thank God I didn't play football on a serious level, but football players are thinking. I had a Talmud who was in high school football. So we wanted to kill the other team. I mean, it wasn't. We really wanted to crush bones. It's not. You want to crush bones over what? Over what? Something that's going to be totally forgotten. So that's Shav Niteh. Yeah. And of course, I'm not talking about entertainment, right? But everything dresses up as this series, this thing is going to life changing. This this novel. Oh. Hevel Shav Niteh, taking our focus away from what we really want to focus on and what's really important and where we can really make a difference. Now this is important. It's fitting to get to this tova. Now he's touching on an extremely important question here, and we have to be marich a little bit over here. He has to work hard to be called to this. So it's not just doing mitzvahs, it's dveikus, and the dveikus and the mitzvahs is what's fit to work on. Now, what's he alluding to here? So it's pretty clear to me, listen carefully, that he's referring to the basic question, which everybody should be bothered about. And I see when I teach the ideas in yeshiva, something which is far for people is just you're focusing so much on Olam Haba. So I said, I'm not focusing on Olam Haba. I'm focusing on you, on your reality. Olam Haba is just the best part of us. Because the best part of us is our neshama, is our soul, is our meaning, is the part of us which goes on forever. We're all just stuck in the 70, 80, 90, 100, 120 year model of ourselves. But let's be the best version of ourselves. Famous expression to the best version of ourselves is our neshama, our soul. We know that. So now HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates us, and He wants to do good for us, and therefore, and He says, as we've seen, I want to connect to you because that's the best good. The best good you can have is being in connection to me. That's it. Yesher Koch. So now, ask the question, so why did I come into this world where I get distracted so easily? Why did I get into this world where I have to explain to myself why sports isn't so relevant? Why am I in this world where I'm on a diet and then I see that chocolate cake and it takes me away and then I overeat and on Moshe Shabbos I can't learn? Why I am in this world with so many distractions, my anger, my kas, my low self-image, my self-doubt, the voice in my head, so many things are bothering me, distracting me from who I really want to be. Just let us be an Olam Haba straight. That, friends, is a very important question because that is the question. And the answer is because it's Rosh Yeshivah of Shapell. So now, I know two basic approaches to this, which the Ramchal explains in others farm, in Das Tfunas and Derech Hashem, in different places. I'm not sure exactly where each one. one idea is, which is everybody's heard before, we have to mention here, why is it Rosh Yeshivah? Why come Tchila? Because the idea is Nama de Kesufa, the bread of embarrassment. When someone only eats what is given to them, i.e. what they didn't deserve, what they didn't work for, they don't enjoy it as much. There's a special pleasure in what you worked for. Mesilas says a person 9 times enjoys what he works for as opposed to something that's given to him on a silver platter. We all know that. I always tell people, you just go into your father's company, it's a bad thing for you. You're not gonna, people won't respect you, you're not developing yourself, you're not working, you're just the boss's son. Like, make something of yourself, right? People respect something, that feeling, right? That I made this business, b'siyata d'shmaya. I deserve this because b'siyata d'shmaya, of course, because I put into it. That is the feeling Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have in the ultimate good. So Kadosh Baruch Hu could have just sent us straight to Olam Haba, but we would have had this eternal feeling of not deserving. What's so interesting is that this even is in the Teva, believe it or not. In terms of Dinei Orla, right? We can only eat from a fruit from a tree after 3 years, and then is Ravai, etc. 4 years, 5 years, in the 4th year, the 5th year, etc. And now watch. There's sometimes the way that you make new trees is by taking an old branch, doing I think what's called harkava. There's sometimes we put an old branch in a new branch, and they come together, and through that they grow one. Another way is planting it into the ground. That's called habracha. One's called harkav, one's called habracha. Now, how do you know? Watch this. So let's say I have an old tree. I take a branch from the old tree, I put it into the ground, and I have a new tree. Well, how do I look at it? Is it a new tree or an old tree? If it's an old tree, well, it's 10 years old, and then the fruits are not orla, and they can be eaten. But if it's a new tree, so I have to start a new orla cycle. So listen to this. The Yerushalmi says that it depends which way the leaves are facing. If the leaves are facing away from the old tree, the leaves of the new tree are facing away, then you know it's still dependent on the old tree because its dependency, it's quote unquote embarrassed about, therefore the leaves are facing away. If the leaves are facing towards it, then that's a sign that it is an independent tree, and now it starts its own orla cycle because it's not part of the old tree anymore. So I'm always blown away by that example, that in the Bria itself is this idea of the Naba de Kesufa, right? And we know that in general, it's a healthy thing. One of the dangers when people take tzedakah, you can see it in people. At a certain point they take tzedakah as they need. Okay, they're a little bit embarrassed. And you see at a certain point, you get rid of your busha because you start to feel that people should be paying for me. That's a very, very dangerous position to be in because then you're losing your humanity. A human feels busha. Humans want to be independent, right? Just for those who go to Kol, just say a word. Kol is, of course, a necessary thing, and I also took money in Kol, right? And the way my Rosh Yeshivah, Shlita, shared with me is that we don't want l'chachila to take money. We understand that we're to keep Torah going. It's worth, this taking money, but it's not that forever I should be a supported person. That I should go into this mindset of being supported. The person wants to be independent. That's humanity. But anyway, so that's one explanation of why we came into this world. The other one is to be, I think the Ramchal is mashma somewhere that there are other explanations. These are just two that I'm sharing now. Is that you want to be doma to Hashem. So just like Kadosh Baruch Hu has a certain independence to him, kaviyachol, right? So till we gain our independence, that we're not just dependent on him, we built ourselves. So building ourselves, one, makes that the tov that we get, we're not embarrassed about it, and two, in that tov we stand as more similar to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the dveikus that we have, part of the dveikus is the connection is being like him. So those are two explanations. But friends, understand, it's because of that we're in this world of challenge. That we'll see in the next session how much that challenge is. But if it wouldn't be for that, Kadosh Baruch Hu would have brought us straight to Olam Haba. And I want to say something else. How is history supposed to unfold? So you see pretty clearly in Derech Hashem, and it's really fascinating. My understanding is, based on Derech Hashem, that Adam Harishon was supposed to stand in how many nisyonos? One one Nisayan, and that was it. And the whole tikkun would have been done, and history would have been over, and there'd be no gullus, and there'd be no more korban bias, and there'd be none of this. And everything would be clean and clear. And he would have children in that state. So the world would have been populated by all these happy people who were just celebrating Shleimus. But because of that state, now you see how serious the Eitz Hadas was. Because of that, we're in the state now. And there were other times for tikkun. Kabbalah Satar could have been a time for tikkun. Niyamarti Elohim Atem. But then, of course, Kimchet Egel. And there were other times of the possible tikkun could have been made and would have all been done. So, Bezrat Hashem, we should see the tikkun. But that's what's going on in the Bria. That's what's going on. We know that the ultimate Tov is only being with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, being connected to him, being with him. We want that time. The reason we don't have that time now is because is what Kadosh Baruch Hu did a Tova to us, that we should be we should be more similar to him. Kadosh Baruch Hu did a Tova for us, so we should be able to celebrate the joy and feel it and not be bound by this feeling of embarrassed, the nam and the kasuf, the bread of embarrassment. We shouldn't be like that tree, but it's been a real long ride. Because of that, we should be zocheh to see the end of this ride soon, together with Mashiach Tzidkenu.